Hello folks, today is July 10th of 2013. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. This is Mark. I will address today two related subjects, and I suppose somewhat controversial subjects: world government and a new world order. As those of you who have listened to my previous broadcasts know, or some of them know, I am quite the anti-conspiracy theorist. I spend a lot of time trying to debunk conspiracy theories as a sociologist. Conspiracy theories are, by definition, non-academic, anti-sociological, and this particular occasion is no different. So when I speak about world government and a new world order, I am addressing those subjects in an extraordinarily positive way. When we look around today, we see tremendous social disorder. The old world order is really an old world disorder. Things are not working that well. Economies are threatened with collapse. Banks are not doing particularly well. There was the huge mortgage collapse back in 2008. A lot of very serious economic problems, some hugely threatening, continue to emerge. All the concerns about surveillance, which I have addressed in previous shows, which really is just a sign of this increasing global disorganization, social disorganization, or social disorder that we see around us. And the more disorderly the world becomes, the more governments find a need to spy on their citizens, trying to make sure that nobody is up to anything bad. In other words, people become threatened and fearful. Those are understandable reactions from officialdom to a system that is constantly experiencing one devastating crisis after another. People who criticize governments for doing these things simply don't, in my view, understand what's going on. People who think, how in the world could a government do this to its citizens, namely spy on its citizens? In my opinion, they're not looking at the way the world is right now. The continued collapse in Syria, the demonstrations in Egypt over the fact that the military stepped in and took President Morsi out of power. So you see a continued battle line set up between the Islamists and the more reform-minded Egyptians. It's a very difficult world, and the solution to it, unfortunately, that is being proposed by many people who are libertarians, is that we need no government at all, or perhaps much less government. Well, my usual response to that is, if you want to see what no government looks like, or at least a hugely dysfunctional government, look at Syria. Look at Egypt. Look at any of the fledgling societies around the world which are constantly on high alert for various terrorist activities, because basically their entire state apparatus has collapsed. So talking about anarchy, or a society without any vertical authority, that's what anarchy is, an absence of vertical authority, meaning top-down authority, that is the problem, not the solution. We are seeing increased anarchy in the world. So what we really need, I think, in this time of global disorder or global disorganization, is the gradual establishment of a world government. Now, I am not naive, and I certainly do not expect people to wake up one day and say, now we need to set up a world government. That's not the way people are. People in power look at their position, they look at what their responsibilities are, and in most cases try to carry out those responsibilities as best as they possibly can. I assume that the majority of people are basically sincere. Some people are not, but I think most people are, unless they show otherwise. So I don't expect people, however sincere they are, to decide that now is the time that we need to eliminate the system of nation states and work for the establishment of a global federation. That's just not going to happen. Instead, I think it'll be more of a natural process, or more of an unintentional process, almost like we will accidentally or coincidentally end up with a world government. In other words, when we get to that point, we simply won't have a choice. We simply won't have a choice. And we haven't quite gotten there yet. I think we're pretty close, though. When everything in the world, when all the systems that run the present world of nation states has ceased to work completely, when people are forced into a kind of localism, living on the local level, not out of any desire for survival, but simply out of necessity. If there is no functioning larger government structure, and all you have are the people who are within eyesight, or at least within a short walk, then you simply won't have any choice. So I think that world government will not be something which will be imposed from the top down. It will be established from the bottom up. After the present system of things has simply ceased to work, and people are functioning primarily on a local level, gradually we will rebuild. And I think as we do rebuild, we will rebuild a new world order. Not a new world order dominated by any of the power interests that exist in the world today, in the multiply complex matrix of domination or intersecting web of power and oppression in the world today, but something entirely new. Perhaps it is something that, as of this particular time, we really cannot even fully conceive, but I think it will happen nonetheless. So that is my suggestion, to forget about the conspiratorial talk, to reject all of the negativism that exists, especially on the internet and including on YouTube and other social networking sites, about world government and a new world order, and look at the world that we live in today and ask, is that the kind of world that we want to give to our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren? And I think the answer that most people would have to that question would be no. So the question then is, well, what then? What do we do? How do we make the shift from where we are now to where we want to be at some point in the future? Until next time, this is Dr. Mark Foster. Have a good one.